On this episode of the Apple Watchers, two Apple Watchers survive 2 weeks at the bottom of a lake. Apple teams up with another company for dementia study. Apple Watch, AirPods, and other devices facing 10% import tax starting soon. Next Apple Watch could be made of titanium. Apple announces $1 million bug bounty program. And the Apple Card is now here for all U.S. residents. All this, our picks, and much more. This is episode number 7. Welcome to the Apple Watchers, a podcast about the Apple Watch and more. This episode and every episode is brought to you by me and Jay-Z, aka Jonathan Zarko. All right, let's get started. All right. Well, how you doing? I guess you should be pretty refreshed. You were camping.
Yeah, I went beach camping last weekend down at Thornhill Broom.
Very cool.
Spent some time with the family. It was really nice.
Yeah, and I have to ask this question. I guess maybe you didn't bring your Apple Watch, or
No, I did. I just happened to leave it in the car because sand and salt not so great necessarily for an Apple Watch.
Yeah.
But what was interesting is it still seemed to pick up some of my activity, or at least my phone did. Huh. So even though I wasn't wearing it, I still got to fill in some of my rings. Though lounging around at the beach, there's not a lot of activity happening.
No, I think I would bring an analog watch and just kind of disconnect from everything. Yeah, that would be me. I'd bring a watch, but yeah, just an analog watch.
I still had my phone, so I could see the time, and although service out there was kind of spotty, so it was nice to kind of disconnect for a little while. But it wasn't tracking as much activity as, say, the watch would normally do.
Yeah. So before we get started, I just want to let everyone know too that we're doing a little experimenting here. So we're down one microphone and we're trying to remote recording. So we apologize for any weird, sounding things.
Yeah, hopefully we don't sound too different.
Yeah, we're trying to work it out, and we thank you guys for hanging in there. It will get all worked out, and same with the scheduling, because we're a little late on getting this episode posted. But it's been a lot of technical and scheduling difficulties. So
if we get this dialed in, though, we should be more consistent.
Yeah, for sure, and we'll get it dialed in very soon. Well, why don't we start with some Apple Watch stories and news? First up, this comes from BGR. Apple Watch remarkably survives for 2 weeks at the bottom of a lake. So it was a pair of Apple Watches that were recently recovered in perfectly fine working condition in Brookfield, Connecticut, by a police dive team conducting a routine training exercise. So it was 2 watches, 2 weeks, and they were both Series 4. Yeah.
So these pictures were funny because they were the same color and the same type of band, but it did look like they were different sizes.
Yeah.
And I think it's also kind of evident of the band. So it's like the standard band that you get. They both had it. Yeah. And they both ended up at the bottom of a lake.
Yeah. And those are the floral elastomer bands. I would say too, if you're someone who is wearing your Apple Watch and you, let's say, water skiing, I would not suggest those bands.
No,
they're pretty secure, but on my latest watch, I got the Sport Loop. I just purposely ordered that one that came with the Sport Loop because I didn't want another floral elastomer band. Those are very secure, so the only thing that would give out is the connection at the clasp and
connecting to the body.
Case. Yeah. So I would be careful, or do an analog watch, a cheap analog watch.
Yeah, if you're out doing that, but you're not getting your exercise tracking. Although I don't know how close that's going to be.
Yeah, I don't think they have water skiing.
Just a miscellaneous exercise. It's fine.
Yeah. So that was kind of a neat story. It's still in working condition. This article doesn't say whether they were given back to the owners, but I assume they were.
Yeah, if they were able to find them.
Whether they were found.
a prize for the divers.
Yeah, and it doesn't specify whether it was found on the people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They could have been dead.
Were they
I
on
don't know.
wrists? They were a couple.
Yeah, thrown
Yeah.
overboard with cement shoes. I don't
Mm.
know. It doesn't say. You want to take this next story that?
Oh yeah. Okay, so this one's really cool. So from 9 to 5 Mac rather. Apple teams up with Eli Lilly to study how iPhone and Apple Watch can help detect dementia. So they've been working with this health startup called Evidation
Mm-hmm.
to find ways to more quickly and precisely detect cognitive impairments like Alzheimer's disease, and to help with the help of the popular gadget. So 5 employees are listed in the research, as are 5 Eli Lilly employees and 5 Evidation employees. And so I guess CNBC had some details on the study. Basically, what happens is the participants are given an iPhone, an Apple Watch, and the Bedit sleep tracker. Which, side note, Apple acquired Bedit 2 years ago, so technically it's all 3 products or Apple products. The early stage study took over 12 weeks and included both 82 healthy control people and 31 individuals with varying stages of cognitive decline and dementia. Those who participated were asked to avoid taking medications that might impact the overall results, and each received the gadgets. During the early stage study, researchers found that people with symptoms of cognitive decline type more slowly, type less regularly, and sent fewer text messages than healthy participants. And they also rely more heavily on support apps that the research shows. So basically, they've kind of been able to surmise and found that your habits of using these devices can also be indications of things that are going on with your body. And I think it's really interesting how Apple has been kind of doing studies, and we've been seeing in the or in what they're telling us about iOS 13 that they're going to be able to read back details and show you trends on activity. And so I could definitely see later on something a little bit more in depth, where you've been using Apple products for multiple years, and if they have certain metrics that they can be recording and tracking on you, they might be able to give you an indication like, hey, we noticed that your words per minute when typing is slower, or that your usage is declining. These may be indications, maybe also paired with stats from your health apps to help kind of give you an early warning.
Yeah, this is very cool. Really exciting stuff. Yeah, I could see this helping out very much. So
it's really interesting to see too. These are devices and things that we just use every day, and even without changing the way that you use it, we can still be learning things about ourselves. So
yeah, it's very
super cool.
Very cool. This next story we'll just touch on, but I'm sure a lot of people have even heard on regular news stations and whatnot, but AirPods, Apple Watch, HomePod will face 10% import tax starting in September. And there's other, of course, electronic devices, from other companies as well. I hope they can work through this. This is hitting right at Christmas shopping season.
Mm-hmm.
And on a side note, Tim Cook has been meeting with Donald Trump a lot to try to fix this.
I'm glad that they're, he's taking a more personal approach. I think that's going to actually be effective with Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's been calling him directly, because a lot of other CEOs just have someone call Donald Trump, and Tim Cook's been calling directly. But yeah, he's really pushing because, Samsung is one of Apple's biggest competitors. And so Samsung does not face those tariffs because they're a Korean company.
So it's only because of the assembly in China that we have this happening. So interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, the other part of it, I know Apple has been doing or looking at the ability to start doing more manufacturing here in the States. So I wonder if maybe, Apple products might be able to get an exception or something, or if they can start to move more things over here to help try to keep costs down. But I know it's a balancing act I got to do.
Yeah. And on a side note, this actually just happened today, but Donald Trump was tweeting that American companies must switch, find manufacturers that aren't in China, which he actually does not have the power to do. Apparently, you can't tell a private company where they should have something manufactured, but good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. So next story. Apple brings contactless student IDs on iPhone and Apple Watch to more universities. So in this coming school year, more than 100,000 college students are going to enjoy the ease and convenience of carrying their student IDs on iPhone and Apple Watch. There's a grip of different universities. University of San Francisco is one of them that I'll call out since it's here in California with us. But a bunch of these different colleges are soon going to allow students to have student IDs in the Apple Wallet that they're going to be able to use to get into dorms and buy lunch and more. I think this is really, really cool. It's very smart to kind of build this functionality into the digital wallet, and Apple helping to get that over that hump so that schools can start doing this, I think is really cool. Because I use my Apple Wallet all the time at work. One of the things I wish I could do is to have I have a card badge ID that I have to use to get into buildings and onto my work campus, and so if I would love to be able to have that just on my phone, so I have another thing I don't have to be carrying around with me and just have my phone. And it's kind of cool from a digital wallet perspective, right? If you're getting kids used to using the digital wallet, then it's kind of a great gateway into getting them comfortable in using it with their debit cards and bus passes and other things too. So kind of helping change the environment and the shift of technology. So really cool.
Yeah, another thing that's kind of cool is parents, can send them Apple Cash. If they're like, hey, I need money, there's no, wiring the money, or, it's just, here's your Apple Cash, use your iPhone or watch to use it. And here's $20. And
even with PayPal and stuff like that, you'd still have to, transfer it into your account and stuff. With the Apple Cash, it's right there.
Yeah.
So it makes things really easy. Hey, Mom, Dad, I need more money for books, beer. Please send $200.
Yeah, and that'll last a few days.
Yeah, until I need to buy more books.
Keg. Books.
A keg of books, yeah.
Yes. So there's going to be another Apple Watch activity challenge, and that is this Sunday. And this one's a little different. So it's not a random date, and it's a 3-mile challenge, and that's not random either.
For reference, that's Sunday, August 25th. In case you're listening to this in the future. We just didn't specify when the actual date was.
I didn't say it? Oh, maybe I didn't. So the date, this Sunday, it's in honor of the Grand Canyon National Park's 100th anniversary. And the walk itself, the challenge is a walk, run, hike, or wheelchair workout. And the 3-mile distance represents a trail there. Well, a trail to another trail. So the South Kebab, I don't know if I'm saying that right, to the Cedar Ridge within the Grand Canyon National Park. So I myself am going to do this, but I wish I could just go to the Grand Canyon and walk 3 miles.
Yeah.
That would be incredible. I've never been. I don't know about you. I've never been.
You should go. I have been. It's grand. It's quite grand. So it definitely lives up to its name.
Yeah.
It's not that far of a drive. You can get in your car. You'd probably be there by morning, man.
Yeah.
Just drive towards Arizona, stop before you hit the giant hole in the ground, and you're there.
Yeah. Cool. So, if you have an Apple Watch and you want to participate this Sunday, get out there, do 3 miles on, walking, running, hiking, or wheelchair. Do it.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
What I also like is, so not only do you get the badge, but there's also going to be stickers and messages and FaceTime.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So there's a fun little extra on there.
yeah.
It's always... I wonder, does it have to be a continuous 3-mile distance?
That's what I wonder.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd take the risk because 3 miles is not that far.
It's not too bad. No, you can do that. You can slowly walk 3 miles in about an hour.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But it's good to know, just because I remember when it was Earth Day and I tried to get the badge for Earth Day because I didn't have 15 minutes total continuous exercise, because I did a bunch of 10 to 14 minute bike rides. I didn't get my badge, so I just want to know all the rules so I can try to get this badge.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that on a previous episode.
Yeah, I'm not bitter about it, I promise.
No, not at all. They even state, I didn't put it in here, but they state that the badges could take like something like 6 to 9 days to show up.
What?
Which I don't understand. Maybe
they're mailing them.
I know. Maybe I know it's not an Apple Card. Yeah. Maybe they mean for you 6 to 9 years.
Oh, that may be it. Maybe. Or months. Maybe I'll get it sometime next year.
Yeah, read the fine print.
Yeah. Sorry, Apple.
Yeah. So this next story. Now this is just rumors. But the next Apple Watch could include new ceramic and titanium models. Now, ceramic wouldn't be new because we've had a ceramic watch. I think the Series 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Or at least the 2.
I think it was in the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, titanium. I don't know how this is going to work because this actually just popped up today. I want to mention this is the titanium Apple Card. We'll get to that story too, but it's requiring such special care. Like,
oh, that's true.
Like they're saying that it scratches easy, and you shouldn't put it next to other credit cards. We'll talk about it more when we get to that. But I wonder about this titanium case, because even the stainless steel will get like little scratches, more than the actual aluminum case. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't know what the price point would be either.
I mean, it'll be a little bit more lightweit, and it's supposed to be more durable. But if they've been having issues with like the Apple Card,
yeah, it's the whole Apple Card thing's strange. That's the physical Apple Card, of course.
What's interesting too, though, is because it's lighter weight. I wonder if they'll end up marketing this titanium case and packaging it with like the Nike Plus edition or something, because it's more sport-like, it's more resistant or more durable, and more lightweight. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it gets some kind of premium attached to it. But at the other side of that is, I understand titanium is supposed to be pretty inexpensive. Like, I've seen titanium jewelry and stuff, rings or whatever, and you can get them pretty inexpensive. So curious to see where this ends up sitting within that whole kind of spectrum of their price points.
Yeah, I think they're going to make it a premium price, because they did that with the ceramic watch. But I would like to see, these be the premium price, and they should lower the price of the stainless steel for this case.
Yes, agreed.
Anyways, real quick, too, is Apple has seeded the 8th beta for watchOS 6, and we'll just talk about it briefly, but they've been just handing out these betas like every week. So
the updates.
Yeah, me and you are on the public beta 7 already.
And it's been really, really good.
Yeah, it's good you skipped the first one. The first one was the worst, but being that they acted on it within like a week, because I was ready to bail out on it. I was like, oh my, what did I do? what did I do? It reminded me of when I was on beta iOS 11 or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And but by the time they got to beta 2, it was already like way
super
better.
Stable.
Yeah, and it's been fairly good. I think both of us have had issues with just certain apps not working, which that requires the developer to update their app.
Yeah. Although to its credit, a lot of the apps that don't work, throw up little notifications that say, hey, we detect that you're on iOS 13 and not all of our features may work, or things may, features may be disabled. So it does make you feel better. Like, oh, okay, this is a thing that's an issue with a particular app, not necessarily with the iOS itself, and also that they're aware of them too. So it gives you a good feeling knowing that things are going to get fixed later on.
Yeah, I real quick, is that because they're reacting so quick, like and updating every week, it's really good, because when I did that beta before the iOS 11 or whatever it was, I felt like when I gave them feedback, it just went off into space, and
off into the ether.
Nothing really got fixed. And
I think this 13 build, the beta, even though the first version had a myriad of issues, I think it's a more stable build. And so before, with iOS 11, when you send them feedback, they're still trying to figure out really big critical issues, not really even looking at the small UI type issues. So in this one, because it's more stable, they're able to get to more of the features that you're seeing right in front of you, because all the backend services and stuff are better.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next story is really cool. Apple Watch patent application reveals millimeter wave 5G and Wi-Fi design. So this is a little technical. I'm going to try to kind of read through here and explain some of this. But Apple plans for millimeter wave watches were discovered in a patent application that was published a couple of days ago, after a filing early last year indicating that the company has been directly confronting the miniaturization and related engineering challenges associated with the fastest version of 5G standard. So while the company could have easily added Chinese, European, or South Korean network compatibility for 5G support using non-millimeter wave antennas similar to 4G, it's instead looking to support both millimeter wave and prior radio frequencies in Apple Watch, despite its small size. So in short, the patent contemplates that a separate millimeter wave and non-millimeter wave antennas could both be mounted inside of the watch's inside walls or beneath the screen, using a combination of directional and beamforming technologies, as well as multiple antennas as needed. The radio signal would point upward and outward rather than towards the user's wrist, enabling the watch to achieve much faster data transmissions than before. Interestingly, Apple isn't limiting the millimeter wave hardware use to 5G. The patent application specifically contemplates support for millimeter wave-based 802.11 AD standard, which is currently being used by other companies to deliver a particularly high bandwidth data for VR headsets, as well as other communication protocols, such as future versions of Bluetooth. So essentially what they're doing is there is a wave standard called millimeter wave, which is a really small wave band. Other countries aren't using it. They're just using a standard wave band that's similar to 4G, but the US has been doing a lot of research and wants to institute out this millimeter wave band for 5G so that we'll get longer and better coverage and be able to take more data. But by also using that millimeter wave technology for things like the 802.11 standard, things like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth will also get good speed bumps and be able to take a lot of data bandwidth. So later on, if they want to start making wearables like VR headsets or some Apple lenses or Apple glasses or something, they'll be able to connect them and share data between those really quickly. Which, since Apple, we've been talking about this before, if they're trying to make the watch become a thing that could one day replace your phone, you could theoretically have a set of glasses that have AR on them that can help display like a larger screen, and then it's sending the processing and communication to the watch, and then you don't necessarily need a phone. So lots of really cool technology they're trying to cram into such a small little device.
Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, they're going to need to keep shrinking technology if they want to do some glasses, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've been seeing there's some other companies that are doing some interesting things where, they're doing like projections onto the glass, and so you can see it only from your perspective. because the light gets spread around so other people can't see it, and it looks less like the weird Google Glass kind of design where there's a giant thing in your face and they look more like regular glasses. So I think it's around the corner. And there's another article later we're going to talk about too, where there's an AR experience that Apple's kind of helping facilitate. But I could definitely see that as being, kind of a precursor to building more of these experiences around AR and other wearables, kind of helping contribute to that. So lots to come. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Well, now why don't we move on to some Apple stories? So first up, Apple might bring Touch ID back to iPhones. Now, we're only going to touch on this for a minute. See what I did there? Touch on it. Ouch. That was bad. So this comes from Ming-Chi Kuo, and he has been pretty reliable in the past. And just to be clear, what they're saying is that not the touch, the home button is not probably going to come back. Maybe they'll keep phones that have that. This would be an in-display Touch ID. And
so your whole screen is a Touch ID.
Yeah. And there are phones that do this already. There's actually one right now, the OnePlus 7 Pro, which is a very good phone, by the way.
It's not an Apple phone.
It's not. But for an Android phone, it is very good. And that company, they keep getting better. But they have a feature called Screen Unlock. And I'm not sure if you can just touch anywhere, if it has to be the bottom half or whatever. But I would like something like this. I think you and I have discussed it a little bit before. I just, we discussed before the show, like when you're driving, if I say, call my fiance, it needs my face, and that's kind of hard to do while you're driving. And I think they do that as a security feature. If I say her entire name, it will call her. But sometimes you just kind of forget. But it'd be great to just kind of reach over and touch. Without a lot of times my phone is just laying down in the center console. It'd be great to just touch it, and touching it anywhere would be even better than the existing Touch ID on the home button.
Yeah, trying to get a small thing. I have the same issue, where I'll have my phone mounted up a little higher, but I still have to kind of lean over to the side sometimes to unlock it.
You have to do that lean like some people do when they're driving.
I got to lean while I'm rolling. You know how it is.
Yeah, know.
It was so cool. I've seen some demos of this technology, and I think it actually might be this OnePlus 7 Pro phone, where they did a really cool, slick thing, and all you do is swipe up on the phone to unlock it, and when you swipe up, it's automatically reading your fingerprint.
Oh yeah.
So it's very quick and easy. And I could see potential where, when you tap on an application or an app icon, it automatically takes your fingerprint and scans it and logs you in. So imagine your banking app, right? Right now with a banking app, you tap on it, the home screen comes up, it then launches Face ID, scans your face, and then locks you in. But if it could just, bypass that and automatically log you in, that could be really cool. However, I think you can get the same thing with a faster and more accurate face scan. So, where as soon as you've tapped on it, it automatically fires the face scanner and just, if it's good, logs you in. And if it has a problem, then it asks you for a password or lets you try to do it again. So I don't know if there's a need for it. And considering how the Touch ID before wasn't supposed to be as secure as Face ID is now, I don't see Apple rolling it back. I know we talked about this before too, though, but maybe they'll do both.
Yeah, both
but
would
I don't
be cool.
know. It's cool. I just don't know why they would do it, right?
Yeah.
So interesting to see. I think I don't know if we mentioned this, but it's supposed to be in iPhones in 2021. So not the next generation. It'll probably be the 11S, or if they change it to like a 12 or something. So we'll see. But this guy does have a good track record, so may not be too far out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, interesting.
But now talking about Touch ID and Face ID, this next story is really cool. It's from iMore. Apple patent for Face ID-like feature on Macs has been granted. And so here's why, again, I don't know why they would be going back to Touch ID if they're trying to get Face ID into other things. But Apple's been granted a new patent by the U.S. Patent Office that suggests Face ID is coming to Macs very soon, which is really cool. The description of the patent reveals the camera will be able to automatically wake up when you come into view the computer's camera sensor, and it will use the camera to detect users and log them in even when the computer is in the reduced power state or sleep mode. It'll be very much like how Apple likes to add new features and get them to work like magic in the background. So I could definitely see this being a thing that is, there's a proximity sensor. Once the computer, you have your laptop open or your desktop there, once something hits the proximity sensor, it knows that there's a person there. It launches the face scan. Face scan knows that it's you and automatically logs you into your profile. Likewise, if there's you share a computer with somebody, if they were to sit down, it can automatically log them in to their profile, or if you guys have a shared one. Would be really cool and feel very secure, to just be able to use your device, your computer in the same way. So this is a feature that I've been looking forward to, and I hope it's coming soon.
Yeah, maybe it'll be on that rumored 16-inch MacBook Pro.
I'm really hoping. I think that's going to be the next one we buy. So I'm hoping it's coming out soon.
Well, hopefully it's not a ton of money too. But.
Yeah, my 11-year-old MacBook Pro is ready to go. Although for its credit, it's chugging along well.
Yeah,
but it's time.
Yeah, mine too. It's still going, but man, it's getting a little tired. I think it wants to retire.
I was gonna say it's time to retire. It's time
to go live the
rest of its days out in a porch.
Yeah, it might want to move to Florida and just kind of go to a retirement community and something like that.
It's already overheating. It's used to being hot. Yeah.
Anyways, so this next story, Apple offers up a $1 million expanded bug bounty program for iOS, macOS, etc. So let me explain what a bug bounty program is. So this would generally be a tech company requesting this, and they purposely want hackers to try to hack in to their operating systems for a reward. And this reward being $1 million. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, not too bad.
Not too bad. This is good news because they haven't done this in the past. They've done, I think, very small amounts of money, and it hasn't been all the operating systems. So this time they want to find bugs in macOS, watchOS, tvOS, iPadOS, and even iCloud. So, yeah, this is very cool. They announced this at the Black Hat conference that happened recently, I believe a week or two ago.
Mm-hmm. That's like the hacker conference, right?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So, this is very good news. And, being that they announced it at the Black Hat conference was them showing that they're finally serious about this, to actually announce it instead of just slipping it out on their website. Mm-hmm. This is good news.
I think it shows that they really want their products to be tested and tested against really motivated people. It also shows that they're very confident in what they've built already, so they're willing to put out a really good bounty for some of these big bugs, because I'm sure they don't anticipate there being too many of them. But in the long run, a couple $1 million here and there could potentially save them billions in, data breaches and also just loss of trust from users. So very, very exciting, really great move, I think, on Apple's part to kind of start asking people to start looking at stuff like that.
Yeah, and definitely good. They're including all their operating systems and including iCloud. Yeah, so very cool.
All right. So this next story is really fun. It's from MacRumors. But even though this isn't really a rumor, this is a thing. Apple is hosting augmented reality art walk in multiple cities. And this is relating to what I was talking about before. So Apple's teamed up with the new museum in New York to create an augmented reality experience called ART. That would be AR in brackets with a T on the end. ART. And it can be experienced in San Francisco, New York, London, Paris, Hong Kong, and Tokyo, just like our app, or our podcast. You can listen to it in any of those cities.
That's right.
ART is a curation of augmented reality pieces that are being featured in a series of guided walks where people can just use iPhones to view the creations. The art walks were first announced in July, but are set to kick off last week. So they're out and ready. Apple's hosting walking tours that are free and open to the public. Each tour begins at an Apple Store location and features the same art walk. So it doesn't matter what city you're in, you can get the same experience. Pieces are only accessible at certain points on the walk, providing a multi-city, open-air virtual exhibit. And it includes a bunch of pieces from a bunch of cool artists like Nick Cave and Hans Berg and John Giorno, as well as a couple others. And they're all artists that are picked by New Museum to kind of create these cool AR experiences.
Yeah, and I just want to say that's not Nick Cave from Nick Cave and the Bad Seed. Some of you might know. Look, my younger niece knows who Nick Cave is. We took her to see him live. So it's not nice. That Nick Cave from Nick Cave and the Bad Seed. It's a different Nick Cave.
It's the AR developer, Nick Cave.
Yes, not the singer. Okay, so this next story is yet another rumor. When we cover these stories, they're purely rumors and may not happen, but it's not a really big deal. But
this one's probably going to happen.
Yeah, they might call the high-end model of the iPhone 11 Pro. I don't know what to say about it. I don't think a name is too big of a deal for me. Some people are up in arms about it, but we already mentioned the OnePlus 7 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really have issues if it's the high-end phone. And, it would fit in with their naming that they've been doing with their products. They've been trying to make them a little more universal across all their products. So this would tie in with that.
I think the Pro moniker signifies that it's meant for content creation. So they've kind of done that with all their other items, right? So you have a MacBook and you have a MacBook Pro, and the MacBook Pro is meant for, people who are using their Macs to create and do work versus passively consume and, entertainment type things. Same with the iPad. There's the iPad and the iPad Pro. The iPad Pro is really meant for artists and other content professionals. And same with the iMac and the Mac Pro. Like, again, the iMac Pro is super strong and is a great workhorse. Total overkill for a regular user. And so I think this is just an indication that the new iPhone 11 may have a mode that is meant for creation. One of the rumors is that triple lens camera. So it's supposed to be awesome. It's meant for taking great photos, maybe rivaling even DSLRs. I'm sure it's going to do fantastic video. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and they may also add other features that aren't necessarily hardware related, but have more storage space or pro features for email and business and other stuff too. So
yeah, that would be cool. The camera is supposed to be incredible, and I hope it is. I'm always wanting a better camera. I mean, the one we have now is fantastic, but you just always want better. Some of the rumors too have said that the video is supposed to be really incredible, and you can actually edit and crop as you're shooting video.
Yep.
I don't know, if there's really a need for that, but putting it on the Pro.
Well, that feeds into the concept, right? So that the pros are for content creators.
Yeah.
If you're able to edit it and modify it while you're doing it, it's all right there. So
yeah, it's cool.
Really cool.
So this next story, Apple promises hostile treatment for sites that break Safari privacy rules. So Apple is taking a tough new stance on websites that attempt to monitor and share individuals' browsing history. In a new policy page, the company says it will treat websites and apps that attempt to bypass Safari's anti-cross-site tracking features much like it treats malware. So in some instances, Apple says it will implement new anti-tracking features that target practices of specific bad actors. Additionally, the company notes it will implement those features without offering prior notice.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So
they're just going to do it.
Yeah. And so
take out those bad sites.
Yeah. And let me explain what cross-site trafficking is. So that's the practice of monitoring a person's browsing behavior. Often it involves sharing data with third parties such as advertisers. If you've ever looked at a product on Amazon and then see ads that follow you from website to website, you've been a victim of cross-site trafficking.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Those Amazon ones are a killer because they don't just go from website to website. I'll get them in certain apps, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So it travels with you all over the place.
Yeah, it'll follow you from device to device too, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on if you have, the Amazon app installed on your multiple devices, and if you share your browsing history across them, which I do.
Yeah. So, last few little stories. The Apple Card is now available to everyone in the U.S. that is an iPhone owner, and that, I believe, was Wednesday. I should know this, but yeah, and I will probably speak more about it later on, but just a couple things. If you sign up for this card, you may want to consider opting out of the Apple Card arbitration clause. And
they made it actually kind of easy to do, right?
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, I'll leave a whole link from this article that comes from iDownload blog, but they stayed in there, and it's the same thing I did. Is you can just text Apple for help, and you can just tell them that you want to opt out. When they say that you are now out of that, you may want to screenshot that and save it everywhere you can so that you have a record of it, because they'll be like, hey, we never said that.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, if you might want to consider that. Couple other things, just the cashback on it. There's probably a lot better offers out there, but the convenience, what I found so far is just seeing everything in the wallet app and being able to see what's going on with, where I spent my money, and the daily cashback is kind of cool. You get cashback.
Yeah, that's the game breaker right there.
Yeah. And so you get cashback credit that offers 2% cashback on all purchases when you pay with Apple Pay, 1% cashback when you pay using the physical card, and on websites that are not, Apple Pay enabled. That's where you would actually enter in your card number. 3% cashback on purchases made directly from Apple, including iTunes digital media. So that's pretty cool. I'm still waiting on my titanium card, which there was a way to look in the app and track when it's going to get here. It was supposed to be here today, but it is coming on Monday. And I just want to add that I'm going to put the link in the show notes for this as well, but now Apple warns that you may permanently discolor your titanium Apple Card if you store it in leather or denim. Okay.
I wonder if it has to do with the quality of your leather and denim.
I don't know, but most most wallets are leather.
Yeah.
This has become, I even think it's funny. I like Apple, but this is hilarious. Where do I even begin?
I wonder if this is one of those things they do though, just to kind of cover their ass, because when I've had some other cards that gotten, kind of rubbed weird from being in a wallet or had like a little discoloration and stuff like that. And I could see people getting all in arms because their special titanium card got that way.
Yeah.
When in actuality, it really is just something that happens with cards in your wallet. But I don't know, maybe it really is super fragile.
Yeah. I don't know. Apparently it's supposed to scratch easy. Because they're saying to not even put it in between other credit cards. So I do have a solution for this, though. I'm going to actually hire a butler that I'm going to take with me. So say I'm at a big box, store, big hardware store, and I got to buy something. I'm just going to have my butler with his white gloves take it out so that I can
have it on a little tray for you. I'm just going to pull over the
on a padded tray. On a padded tray. and then I'm going to gently swipe it through the machine. And hopefully the cashier won't ask to see it because I don't want them to scratch it. So that's a pretty good solution, and it's totally worth it.
Yeah, you can get a little velvet bag for it to float in.
Oh yeah,
That'd be very nice. Yeah,
yeah. So
with all those cashbacks you're getting, I mean,
that's right.
Easy to buy all those little things.
That's right. So this just in today, little story, but Apple removes their Designed by Apple in California book from their store. Back in November of 2016, Apple released a book called Designed by Apple in California, which highlights its storied design history. Sometime recently, however, Apple has removed the book from its online store in the United States. The book came in 2 sizes, and they retailed for $199 and $299. That's $199 and $299.
Was it the 2 sizes? Was it just bigger, or was one have more pages?
I think one was actually bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So there was a Designed by Apple in California book and a Designed by Apple in California mini.
Yeah.
That's
right. That's right. So the book, it was very much focused on Johnny Ive's work, and the book was dedicated to Steve Jobs. Apple still has a page on their website dedicated to the book, but you cannot purchase it from there. So there is a chance, it seems a little fishy in some ways, but it is possible that they only printed a certain number of books and then ran out of stock. But
they're just not planning on reordering.
Yeah, but being that it was focused on Johnny Ive and then Johnny Ive just left, the timing is I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
fishy, or maybe I'm getting too conspiracy, but
maybe Johnny Ives was the one who was pushing for it, and now that he's gone, they're like, "Yeah, we're out of these books. We're not buying anymore."
Maybe so. Or if it was his idea to sell it, they're like, you know what? He's leaving, so yeah, we can just stop selling the book.
Yeah, that's fine. What's he going to do? Quit?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, and last, in our For Your Entertainment section, which I mentioned on the last episode, is going to be an ongoing little section. We're not going to talk about the stories too much, but we'd like to throw something in there for people to click on and watch, because there's always really cool Apple videos. So, let's see.
Entertain me, Kevin. What do we got?
Okay, the first thing, this is really going to entertain you because it really made me crazy. But the Apple ASMR videos for relaxing. So, ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, which I don't know what that means. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But
it sounds like Asmar.
Yeah. I think I have Asmar. Asthma? Asmar. Well, yeah, when I watched these, I felt like I had Asmar all of a sudden. I don't like them. I don't understand what the point is exactly, and I don't know where they're going with this.
These are those they're monotonous or kind of repetitive.
Yes, they're sounds. And they state that you should listen to them on headphones. I watched a few, and I couldn't watch the whole thing, of course, but one was like woodworking, which I used to do woodworking, but I hearing someone just scraping wood, I hated it. I hated it, but maybe I'm crazy. Maybe this is relaxing to some people. I don't know. You might as well put water
to sleep. Yeah, depending on what it is.
Might as well put like water drops. Chinese
water. Well, it's not uncommon for people to have rainmakers or whatever in their bedroom when they're trying to sleep.
Well,
so I guess it's just a bougie version of that.
Maybe. If you haven't seen them, I would love to hear your response, and we could talk about them on another episode, but briefly. But I don't know.
Maybe we'll release a whole podcast that's just us making ASMR videos.
Well,
just the ASMR issue.
We could actually do ASMR podcast.
Yeah, that'll be our spinoff here.
Yeah, we could. And each week will be some kind of annoying noise. I might just tap a pencil the next episode,
They could be all Apple related. So it's like a writing on a keyboard.
Yeah.
Opening and closing a lid.
Yeah, that's right. Oh man.
Swiping up and down on a piece of glass.
Yeah. So, and these last few things, teen arrested after selling stolen iPad at an eco ATM. That's where you can recycle your electronics, but he had his own ID still in the device.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny, so I threw that in there. And if you didn't know, there's a video to prove it, but the Apple Card is bulletproof. So check out that video.
So your butler will be safe when he's carrying your card around.
Yeah. I plan to have several. Actually, I didn't even touch on that, but this immediately intrigued me about having like a separate business card,
Oh, yeah.
Would be kind of neat. So I don't know where they're going with this, but maybe they will. But I don't think they let you have two Apple Cards at this time.
It would be kind of interesting, though, to be able to have two and be able to, change your spending or track your spending and have personal versus business accounts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be cool. The last one is astronaut uses iPad and a DJ app to deliver first ever live DJ set from space.
Woo! We live in the future.
Yeah, and that's an app that's actually called DJ. It looks like little two turntables. But it's really cool to see. He kind of gets a little funny with it. He, gets sideways. I think he even gets upside down, and he kind of flips his iPad around and it floats around slowly, and he grabs it again, and it's just kind of fun. And they show the crowd too. Yeah, they show the video up on stage and the crowd going nuts. He gets people to clap their hands. Pretty cool. Cool to check out. So
yeah, something cool to look at.
Yeah, now that you've made it through all the news stories, go and check these out and have some entertainment. So anything else you wanted to cover before we get to our picks?
I have a
little tip. Maybe
I got a little tip for you guys. So I found an interesting article on The Verge about fitness trackers and how they aren't always accurate. So it's how to make your fitness tracker count steps more accurately. So a little bit of background on that. Part of the reason that they're not always tracking things accurately, which you may notice, if you have a Fitbit and an Apple Watch, or you have one thing and a friend has another thing, and you guys are walking around the same place, some people may have wildly different numbers.
Yeah.
And that's partly because of how they work. So fitness bands use a multi-axis inertial sensors called accelerometers to detect when the device is moving. Some also use gyroscopes to determine direction and rotation. And because these sensors generate so much data, it has to be sifted through and interpreted by the device's controller. Results can often be misinterpreted or badly reported. So in other words, what you see isn't necessarily what you walked. But there's a couple of things you can do to kind of help keep your numbers a little bit more accurate. And so one of the first things you can do is to read the manual. Make sure you read your manufacturer's instructions carefully when you set up the device. And will help make sure that if you have it all set up properly, it's going to help you in the long run to make sure that it's accurately recording data. Another thing you can do is set to your non-dominant hand. So many trackers ask you to specify whether or not you're wearing it on your dominant or non-dominant, but your dominant hand is more likely to be more active. So whether you're wielding a tool or stirring a pot, there's more opportunities to make mistakes. So even if your tracker's instructions don't cover this, if you don't mind it, you may consider wearing your device on your non-dominant hand.
Interesting.
Another thing you can do is to make sure that your device is firmly on your wrist. So some people don't like a tight fit for their watch or their bracelet, but if fitness band is flopping around on your wrist, you're likely to get false step counts. So a loose fit can also prevent the heart rate sensors from working properly as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. Obviously, you can get away with it on an analog watch, wear it loose, but definitely if you're coming from an analog watch to one of these fitness trackers, you need it very secure. Not cutting off your circulation, but it's does need to be a lot more secure.
Yeah, for me, my MO is to I typically wear it a little bit looser throughout the day, and I allow it to kind of flop up, back and forth a little bit. I always try to make sure that my move goal of the day, just my red ring, right, is much further along than just the baseline, what I'm setting it to. And that kind of helps account for the flopping. But for my exercises, when I'm starting a bike ride or something, I always make sure to tighten it on my wrist. And that's one, to make sure that I'm getting an accurate reading on my heart rate, to make sure I'm getting an accurate reading on like calories burned, stuff like that. And it's also just a little bit safer, I think, in my mind too. I don't like having something loose while I'm, pedaling really hard or moving my arms and stuff around.
Yeah.
So there's another thing you can do, which is, if you're a stickler for details, you can log before and after step counts. If you're spending a long period of time sitting or doing an activity that doesn't involve walking. So, for example, if you have an office job and you're sitting at a desk for long periods of time and you're suspicious about your movements, you can, when you first walk in and sit down, take a look at the number of steps you have. And then before you get up for lunch or something like that, check it again and see how far of a discrepancy it is. Taking into account, did you get up to go to the printer? Did you get up to get a cup of coffee or use the bathroom or something? But if you hadn't, you can kind of get an idea of how off it might be. And once you start getting kind of an idea of those misinterpretations that can occur throughout an hour or a day, you can kind of surmise your variance and have an idea of like, okay, well, if my tracker says that I've done 5,000 steps, but I know I have like a 300 step variance where I could have done a little bit more or a little bit less in there, then you're good if your target is, say, 4,500 steps or something. So just some interesting little tips on how to try to get better reporting on your fitness trackers. And the link is in the show notes. Again, the article is from The Verge, but just some really interesting things. Because I've noticed it, and I'm sure you guys have too, where sometimes the numbers seem really different between two different people.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. That's very helpful. Why don't we get to our picks? I'll go first. So I follow, I have an app that kind of lets me know when apps go on sale. And this one came up for free. It's regular $1.99. I don't think it's still on sale, but it's called Mini Watch Games 24-in-1. Basically, a lot of games, and it's really cool. For us older folks, they look a lot like Atari games, like they're kind of spin-offs of Atari games. I feel bad. I should have been playing all of them, but I haven't got into all of them yet. So
they're interesting. They do some cool things. Like one of them was like the Brick Breaker game.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you let me know, and so I grabbed it as well.
Yeah.
I appreciated that they took the time to build in functionality and for each of the games that's sometimes a little bit different. So, like the Brick Breaker, you can actually choose if you want to use the digital crown to hit the ball back, or use your wrist and kind of move it around.
Yeah. And it seems to vary. Like you have to get in depth with each game and see which control you want to use. Because I've done a few Space Invaders. That one you can use the digital crown, or you can use your wrist to move, left and right. And then when I went to use, I'm forgetting the name of the game, but it's like Frogger. That one, I thought you would be able to use the digital crown, and you're supposed to tap on the watch.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So there's a little learning curve. Now, you may think it's a little silly to have games on your watch, especially if you're a gamer, someone who's serious about games. I don't think these are meant to be very serious. They're kind of like if you're in line at the market and you're kind of bored, you just play a quick game,
Yeah, they're passive.
Yeah, because obviously you're going to get uncomfortable holding your wrist up too. Uh, not the most comfortable position to play a game, but they're really cool. And I like that these developers, looks like they're called Alho Games. I like that they spent time and made these for the Apple Watch, and you get a lot of games for $1.99.
Yeah.
Because it's not just one game for $1.99. You get a whole bunch. So, and they actually have, I'm going to include in the show notes, there's actually a whole bundle where you can get some of their other apps, which have even more games. So,
wow.
Yeah, there's like 30 watch games mega bundle. So
they're actually pretty good quality. I mean,
they are.
They've got a lot of colors. They're kind of interesting.
They're
I like the Drive one
too.
They are. They're very responsive.
Yeah.
I'd be curious. I wonder how much wear like digital crowns were set for. Mm-hmm. And if this is, how much that adds to it. So that might be something to consider. But you're totally right. Like, it's just a little thing to waste a few minutes here or there. It's something a little bit different than your phone. Or maybe if you're in a scenario where you don't want to pull out your phone, you're on a crowded bus or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I just want to point out the responsiveness. It may vary on which model watch you have too, because both of us have the Series 4. So the games are really responsive, but I can't attest to older watches. Maybe the Series 3 would be the same, but you never know with the older watches. But yeah, very, very good work from those guys. I like the effort they put into that. Anyways,
well, cool.
What is your pick?
So my pick is actually a very strange app that I found out about recently, and it's for the iPhone, but it's called What 3 Words. And essentially what it is a company has gone through and mapped out, I think, basically the entire world by these small, I think it's about a 2-foot or 3-foot by 3-foot square, and have assigned each of these squares a series of 3 words to represent that one square. So it's just kind of a jumble, but it's like a modern latitude, longitude kind of deal. But instead of it being numbers, it's just these letters or these words. So, for example, different spots in my house. I have pans rising lonely, always fault mild, rent rally planet, and price tummy shout.
Now,
just to name a few.
Now, because I haven't looked at this, do you name those sections, or they've already been named?
They have already been named and documented. And actually, I had seen another article, and I'll try to dig it up and see if I can find it again. But there are other countries that are using this app for part of their emergency services. So the story was around, say, like a hiker who's out and about and doesn't really know exactly where they are, and has a general idea, but wants to get a more detailed location. Like, so for example, I could say I'm in, the zip code 91502. That's a pretty broad area, but instead I could say, no, I'm at the corner of Club's Loaf Shares. And somebody can also use the app and type in those 3 words and get the near exact location of where you are. So it's an interesting little thing to kind of look at. You can you can use it to navigate with other apps. I don't think it's going to replace things like Google Maps or anything anytime soon, but might not be a bad thing to install if you're traveling or you're going somewhere in a strange place. Then if you have contact, even if you can't quite figure out where you are, using this app, you can kind of give other people a more pinpointed location for you. So kind of an interesting thing. Just thought I'd share it with you guys, for everyone else to play with, and see what else they can find with it.
Nice. Very cool. That's very helpful too. Interesting. Well, that's it for this episode of the Apple Watchers. Read all the stories we've covered and more stories on Flipboard, a link provided in the show notes. Reach out to us on Twitter @WatchersTweet if you have any suggestions or stories you'd like us to cover. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcast. You can even ask your smart speaker to play the Apple Watchers podcast. Please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen. And thank you so much for listening. Until the next episode, I hope the only complications in your life are the ones on the face of your Apple Watch.